Yo, what's going on, guys? Going to be going over today's trade recap. I ended up taking no trades today. um, and yeah, just going to be going over market recap today. I wasn't able to do it yesterday, but I didn't take any trades yesterday anyway. I just thought overall yesterday's PA was pretty poor, not really much opportunity at all. But yeah, today was low key a different kind of story because there definitely was a little bit of opportunity today. And price action today was genuinely not that bad. It was better than it was yesterday. But let's go over trade of the day anyway, which I ended up fading, and I still think on some no like bullshit. Um, Even if the trade like that did present itself again, I don't think I would personally take it just because of the conviction reasons that I'm about to show you guys. But overall, if you did take this trade, it's not that I don't agree with it. I think it is a great setup, and it is a good trade if you manage to take it and capitalize off of it. It has good narrative behind it. But just for me, there was a small few things that just in the moment didn't really make sense to me, and made me lack conviction, and not really. Honestly, there was one last thing I was looking for, and that was a 5 minute cont. Um, this is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see us inverse this 5 minute gap and then have like a 5 minute cont to actually prove we are going to be bullish. I just didn't trust this 5 minute inverse. But anyway, let's go back. Let's restart, and I will go over the market session. Then we'll come back to that topic when it arises. So coming in today, overall, honestly, on my short term was low key leaning a little bit more bullish. But overall, this was a bit of a meh. Like as you can see, we have delivered into a daily for a value gap here, and I think we wicked C of the daily gap. Not mistaken, yeah, we did. We wicked C of the daily gap, and we are technically delivering. It's kind of just high resistance versus high resistance on the daily chart, and then it's high resistance versus high resistance on the 4 hour chart. All right, because we are rejecting out of this higher time frame key level here, but we also have a bunch of higher time frame key levels above us as well. So the bias was a bit meh, but then when I went down to the 15-minute time frame, overall, what time is this? 9:15. I was leaning slightly more bullish. The reason being is because we did wick a daily fair value gap. We did have unfilled 4 hour gaps above us, and we also had session liquidity backed with a higher time frame key level as well. So this was London session highs, which was also backed with an unfilled 4 hour above. So I was liking that, but I could definitely see both sides of the story. I could see us being bearish, I could see us being bullish, and just kind of going to go off what market open did, and then kind of decide my bias from there. Obviously, we were rejecting out of a higher time frame key level, be the daily gap here, and a 4 hour gap, and a bunch of higher time frame key levels, and then we also had this continuation sponsorship here with the 15-minute where we respected this, and now it looked like we were going to make some moves higher off of this, which is, I think we end up doing prior 9:30. Yeah, so we ended up delivering off of this 15-minute for value gap going higher. So at this point, I was sort of seeking out the 4 hour, this first 4 hour here, this more discounted 4 hour as like a guaranteed hit for price action today. But again, I was still waiting to see what market open did, because of course we can have something like this going for us, but then market open could literally tell you the exact opposite, and then you can't really act on that anymore. You know what I mean? So yeah, 9:30 ends up opening higher here, and we end up ripping into this hourly gap above us on both assets. So both assets end up ripping into this 1 hour gap that we had here. So at this point, I wanted to see this gap sort of starting to get ran through, like one of those opens where we kind of have something like this, like market opens higher. And in this case, I felt that 9:30 didn't really have to manipulate anything out. Of course, why is that? It's because we already had manipulation at 9 o'clock into this unfilled 15-minute fair value gap. So if 9:30 wanted to open here and sort of start distributing higher, I was completely okay with that. What I would have loved to see from this when I seen this market open was some sort of thing like this going on, maybe like a retrace here and then a bang. Something like that would have been ideal for sure. But we ended up opening higher into this 1 hour gap, and then we actually ended up making a move lower here. Ended up getting a 5 minute inverse, which is something I was going to set as my condition for us to move higher. Reason simply being is because this is a pretty good condition. And why is this a good condition in my eyes? Is because it's the first 5 minute gap that 9:30 open had made, and it is also a case of if we reject off this hourly gap and then we come into this 5 minute fair value gap, unfilled 5 minute, and then we bounce out of this. Can we presume that this high here is actually protected by this hourly gap? No, because a 5 minute is having more power than an hourly gap, meaning that, you know, like a 5 minute should not be having more power than an hourly gap if we are going to be bullish, or if we are actually going to be bearish, right? We would expect this 5 minute gap to get ran through, and this 5 minute gap does actually end up getting ran through. So at this point now, I was kind of leaning. I was like, I don't really know what's going on here, right? So that's where the confusion kind of kicked in for me, because I just kind of explained why there. It's like I wanted to see my bullish conditions get held, but then when they got disrespected, now the battle of high resistance versus high resistance for me just wasn't the greatest. Like we had this high resistance high now technically above us, which we're after delivering through a 5 minute gap and disrespecting it, and we also have this high resistance below here. So it's just a range in between two high resistance draws. Now I'm not saying you can't trade this. This is completely fine to trade, but it's just the way that I kind of held my bullish. I had my bullish conditions here that I wanted to see like happen or get respected after we hit this hourly gap, and it didn't happen. So at that point, like I was low key leaning more bearish right here. Like in this time right now at 9:40, I was leaning more bearish than I was bullish, because we were about to open up a 5 minute BPR here as well, and I just don't really understand the idea of like taking. I think a few people took the 1 minute inversion or whatever it may be down here. I just don't get that, because we've already tested this 15 minute fair value gap. We've just bounced off an hourly gap and inverse a 5 minute. Why would you expect this 15 minute fair value gap to hold? It doesn't make sense. We've already wicked C of the 15 minute fair value gap here. We're already delivered off of it. Why should we come back down there and remanipulate that low? And also, hold on, what is this? Edge this low by 10 points. Like I still don't understand why people were calling this setup A plus. It just doesn't make sense to me. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, if you can have your reasonings for it, that's fair enough. Now, I did see some pretty nice reasonings up here with this here. We left like an equal high to this draw above us right here. But we also left like basically a relatively equal low down here as well. We left another failure swing. It just didn't make sense for me and for us to come back into this 15 minute for a value gap, retest it, inverse a 5 minute, bounce out of an hourly. Like it was just kind of, I don't know, a bit of mix and match, and that's why I just didn't really like it. And I didn't really have conviction in taking definitely nowhere near this 1 minute fair value gap. But even this 5 minute that happened right after, um, which was this, I still didn't have enough conviction. So what I was kind of thinking during this moment of time was basically just high resistance versus high resistance, and how I was going to determine which high resistance was more redundant was if we were to open up a 5 minute gap again here, like we did, and then I would have liked to see price retrace into that gap and then bounce out of it to show that we are now delivering off of this remanipulation on this 15 minute gap and then targeting those draws. And we ended up not getting that retrace to the 5 minute, which is a bit unfortunate. We ended up just pumping straight to my draws on liquidity. So honestly, with that kind of just wrapped up the day. I think we did end up getting a really strong potential for a 15 minute continuation to Asia, but yeah, there was just no retrace, and then I think Trump tweeted again or something, and we just got a Diddy candle to the upside. Um, and yeah, so there's been a lot of just pump candles happening recently, so it is what it is. Um, so yeah, my final straw was definitely going to see if we wanted to retest this 5 minute gap, and then if we were going to be bullish, that would have proven that to me, and that would have given me the conviction. But again, as I already explained, like the reasonings behind this trade, I could never myself personally label this as an A plus trade. Um, A rated, I still couldn't. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm a dickhead, but I'm not even trying to cope or nothing. Because trust me, if it was A or A plus rated, in my own opinion, I obviously would have taken it. I low key would rate this trade probably like B plus. I would say B plus. It's not an A. I don't think it's an A in any category, to be honest. Um, it did the narrative behind it just didn't make much sense to me. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah. That's basically going to be it for today's trade recap, guys. I didn't take anything today. Ended up preserving capital, and I ended up fading this setup, which I know a lot of people ended up taking, and there were my reasonings for it. But if you did take this setup, like it is a good setup for sure, because I could 100% see why people would have conviction on this, but just me myself, I just didn't really have it with this trade. But this is a good trade for sure, just not one that I would take. And yeah, that's basically going to be it for today's trade recap, guys. Let me know if you took anything in the comments below, if you ended up taking a loss or a W or a break even today, whatever it may be. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next trade recap, which will not be tomorrow because tomorrow is a bank holiday Monday, so or bank holiday Friday, sorry. So I will not be trading tomorrow, nor will I be recapping price. And you shouldn't really be trading during a bank holiday, especially on a funded account. Price action is just never really that good. Well, maybe it is with your model, or it can be, but just from the data I've collected, it's just not the best. Um, so yeah, I hope you guys have a great Easter and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I will catch you guys on Monday, which will be the next trade recap. Um, Trade frequency this week to wrap it up was pretty low. I'm not gonna lie, I did fade a few setups. The one setup I ended up taking this week, I think, was on the Tuesday, or it could have been the Monday. I can't even fully remember. I'll go check that in a minute. And I think we made around $550 on that day ish. So up around 0.5% this week. Last week I was up 1%. So the 5 winning days have been completed on the funded account, but my account is sitting at around $50,000. So I do need to get that up into a small, more bit of profit, maybe like $1,000 or 1.5k ish. Honestly, just going to be trading it, seeing how it goes, just taking high quality setups, and then when the payout, when it comes to the point where I can just request that payout, I will do that. But yeah, going to be documenting my entire journey to profitability. So excited for the future of this channel. And yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.